In the quiet town of Redwood Falls, Prejudice didn't scream, it whispered. But when a white teenage gang began targeting the black families living there, one woman's silence turned to steel. Serena Vance, a former Army sergeant and single mother, had seen war zones less tense than her neighborhood. When the gang harassed her teenage daughter Mia and young son Leo, they expected her to cower. But Serena had spent years leading soldiers in combat. Fear had long since stopped shaking her hands. The morning started like any other. Serena moved through her modest kitchen with the precision of a soldier, flipping bacon, checking the security feed on her tablet, and calling 5 minutes till breakfast. Upstairs, Mia grabbed her gym bag while Leo tumbled down in dinosaur pajamas. Everything in Serena's life ran on routine: color-coded calendars, mental threat assessments, school pickups timed to the minute. But when elderly neighbor Mr. Harrison stopped her outside with grim news, the day shifted. "More vandalism," he said quietly. "Spray paint, broken windows. Same symbols I saw back in the 60s. Serena's jaw tightened. The Fergusons, the only other black family on their street, had just been hit. "I'll keep watch," she promised. Later that day, the cracks widened. At the local supermarket, a security guard shadowed them. A deli worker ignored them. Other shoppers clutched their purses. Serena kept calm, noting names and badge numbers in her phone, her daughter watching her every move. On the way home, they took a shortcut. That's when trouble found them. A group of boys blocked the alley. 5 in all. One wore a school letterman jacket. Brett Thompson, the sheriff's son. Another Serena recognized from the grocery store. Sam Miller, son of the rude deli worker. Well, Brett smirked. "Look at the little field trip group." Mia stepped in front of Leo. "Leave us alone." They didn't. Leo's bag spilled. Apples rolled. The boys jeered. Brett pushed him. Then Serena's SUV came roaring around the corner, lights blazing. She stepped out, calm but deadly. "Step away from my children." "You threatening us?" one asked. "Filming?" "No, I'm promising consequences," she said, naming names, calling out their parents, and reminding Brett that hate crime charges stick harder than teenage pride. The boys backed off. That night, a video of the incident went viral. The town's social media turned into a battleground. Some accused Serena of overreacting. Others called her a hero. She documented every detail, locations, quotes, names, and emailed it to her lawyer, school administrators, and civil rights advocates. But it wasn't over. Later that night, Serena spotted a dark Chrysler idling on the street. Security footage was wiped clean. Cameras jammed, and left on her porch was a single white rose, just like the one found at the burned-down home of a black family who left town 3 years prior. Serena didn't flinch. She called her attorney, Carla Mendez, and her neighbor, Mr. Harrison, who had caught the masked intruder on camera. Someone wasn't just watching, they were planning. Serena began organizing, calling contacts, reaching out to journalists because this time they picked the wrong mother and she wasn't going anywhere. At morning, the white rose still sat on the porch, its petals untouched, but its message unmistakable. Serena picked it up with gloves, placed it in a Ziploc bag, and labeled it like she used to do with battlefield evidence. This wasn't just intimidation. It was escalation. Inside, Mia sat silently, scrolling through messages. "Mom, they're saying I made the whole thing up. That I staged it for attention." Serena took a breath, suppressing the fury clawing at her chest. "That's how they flip the story, baby. First, they hurt you, then they make you explain why you were bleeding." Leo was unusually quiet, eating cereal without his usual dinosaur impressions. Serena ruffled his hair. "We're safe and we're going to keep it that way." She drove straight to the sheriff's office. At the front desk, she was met with blank stares and long silences. "I need to speak to Sheriff Thompson," she said firmly. "He's in a meeting," the receptionist mumbled. "Good. I'll wait." It took 43 minutes. When the sheriff finally emerged, Serena stood. "Your son put his hands on my kids. I have footage. I have names. I have witnesses." Sheriff Thompson rubbed his jaw. "Look, Serena, boys get into scraps. Let's not make this more than it is." Serena leaned in. "It became more the moment your son used a racial slur and pushed a 9-year-old. That's not a scrap. That's assault with a hate crime enhancement." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You're not from around here. You don't get how things work." Serena didn't blink. "Actually, I do. I've seen what happens when people let fear stop them from doing the right thing. But I'm not afraid. Back home, Serena got to work. She uploaded every clip, every screenshot, every voice memo she had into a shared Google Drive. Then she emailed a link to a civil rights reporter at the Houston Chronicle, her lawyer, 3 military buddies now working in law and media, the principal of Mia's school, the NAACP. That evening, Mr. Harrison came by with a flash drive. "This is from my backup camera system," he said. "Caught everything. The guy in the mask. He's got a limp. Right leg drags a little. You can see it clearly." Serena smiled for the first time in 2 days. But peace didn't last. That night at 2:14 a.m., someone threw a brick through their living room window. It didn't just shatter glass. It shattered the last line between watching and fighting back. Serena called the police. They took 42 minutes to arrive. A young officer shrugged. "Could be kids messing around." Serena replied, cold and clear, "No, this is targeted, and if the law won't protect us, I will." She boarded the window herself, posted the video to Facebook, and added the caption, "They think this will silence us. But this is only the beginning." The post had 87,000 views by sunrise. Serena poured her coffee. War had come home, but this time she was the front line. By Thursday evening, Serena sat alone on the porch. Candle wax still melted into the pavement from the silent vigil the night before. She hadn't slept much, not since the CPS call. She knew what this was. They couldn't silence her with threats. So now they were trying shame to strip her of her children, her voice, her credibility. The same playbook, generation after generation, just cleaner fonts and digital signatures. But Serena Vance had faced down worse enemies in foreign deserts. These ones wore collared shirts and good manners, but their weapons were just as sharp. She poured a second cup of coffee just as a black sedan pulled into her driveway. 2 CPS agents stepped out. One older, white, stiff-backed. The other young, brown-skinned, eyes scanning everything. Serena opened the door before they knocked. "We received a complaint," the older agent said, holding a clipboard. "Allegations of instability, unsafe environment." "I know," she said. "You're not the first visitors this week trying to shake this house." The younger agent glanced at the neat living room, walls lined with books, a calendar with Mia's debate schedule, Leo's art projects taped proudly to the fridge. "We're required to check." "You're welcome to," she said calmly, stepping aside. They walked through the house, noting every detail. Mia spoke clearly and firmly. Leo offered them juice boxes. 10 minutes later, as they prepared to leave, the young agent paused. "I saw your video," she said softly. "My mom cried, said she wished someone like you lived on our block when she was growing up." Serena just nodded. Later that night, as quiet fell again, her phone buzzed. It was Carla. "The complaints are dismissed," she said. "They tried to drag your name, but it didn't stick. Too many eyes on them now." Serena looked out the window. Across the street, porch lights were on that hadn't been on in weeks. Fear was still there, but so was fire. The next morning, Sheriff Thompson released his resignation letter to focus on family matters. Everyone knew why. By Sunday, Unity Baptist overflowed with people. Families who hadn't come in years. Neighbors who'd once crossed the street now brought casseroles and signed petitions. Near the altar, Pastor Evans announced, "We've created a new neighborhood council, and our first chairperson unanimously voted is Miss Serena Vance." Applause shook the ceiling. Serena stepped up slowly. She wasn't a politician. She didn't want to be. But she looked at Mia holding Leo's hand in the front pew. She thought about Mr. Harrison filming from the back and the brick still sitting on her shelf like a reminder. "This started with hate," she said, "but it ends with us standing together. Not because we're fearless, but because we're finally done being quiet." And with that, she stepped down. Not as a victim. Not even just as a mother. But as a leader. Because in Redwood Falls, one woman's refusal to flinch had cracked open silence and let the light flood in.